One of the biggest concepts that we focus on is teaching clients to make things feel heavier rather than trying to make them feel easier. And one common mistake that we see that a lot of trainers and coaches make is that they're constantly reinforcing to their clients to make something feel as easy as possible. So if someone's doing a deadlift or someone's doing a squat, they tell their client, make it feel as light as possible. Like just lift that thing up like it weighs nothing. And the problem with that is you're essentially teaching people to do things backwards. You're teaching people to move things as efficiently as possible. And when it comes to what we do, when it comes to resistance training rather than weightlifting, we want to take the path of most resistance. We want to make something as hard as possible so that we can get to our goal quicker. And we always have to take ourselves back to what our goal actually is. What is our goal? It's to get to a point of fatigue and failure in as little as possible, efficiently. But by making a weight feel lighter, you're not going to get there more efficiently. It's going to take you a lot longer to get there. And in the process of getting there, you're going to go through a lot of joint damage. You're going to go through a lot of injury. You're going to go through having to do a lot more volume in your training to finally reach that point. So what we do when we're coaching clients is we teach them to make something feel as hard as possible. And instead of saying to clients, okay, we're gonna do 5 more reps or we're gonna do 10 more reps, do 1 more rep and try to fail within this next rep. Try to get to the point in this next rep that you can't do any more after that. What we're essentially teaching people to do when we tell them that is to put as much as you possibly can into the next rep. And the problem with program design is that when we prescribe reps to people or sets to people, they're essentially kicking the can down the road. They're trying to delay getting to that point of failure because their primary goal and their primary target and objective is to finish the workout. So we don't want you to finish the workout. We want to actually get you to the goal as quickly as possible. So we bring ourselves back to what is that goal? That goal is failure. And if we can get to the goal of failure within 3 sets rather than 4 or 5, then we want you to get there. If we can get you to get to failure in 6 reps, we don't need you going to 15 reps. We don't need you delaying and kicking the can down the road to get, some sort of predetermined or prescribed rep range that really has no value or no merit. And we're going to show you an example of that here. So we're going to lift 2 different weights. One of them is a little bit heavier in terms of mass, and the other is a little bit lighter. So this first weight is 35 pounds or so. 35? Yeah, okay. So let's lift this as easy as possible. Okay, so there are little nuances. There's a little bit of technique to this in terms of what he's doing to make it easier, and we naturally find a way to do this as humans. So if you turn to the side, face that way, yeah? So you can kind of get an idea of what he's doing. He's launching it up, he's using his lower body to get it up, and it's very, very subtle. Most people, if you don't really have an eye for that, you're not going to be able to delineate it quite well. But he's using his lower body a little bit, he's using his back, he's using some sway, there's a degree of momentum involved. He's also not taking the path, his arm through the best path for challenging the muscle. Okay, relax for a sec. What he's essentially doing, he's trying to take the shortest path to get the job done because he is focusing on some sort of external metric. And that external metric is just get the job done. But what we do when it comes to proper resistance training is we focus on internal performance. What is internal performance? Well, it's where the contraction is coming from. Okay, how do we maximize where the contraction is coming from? We focus on the joint, nothing else. The only thing that we care about is the joint that should be doing all the work. And what is that joint? It's not the lower back, it's not the knees, it's not the hips, it's the elbow. So if we can place the greatest amount of emphasis on that elbow, then we can maximize the contraction of the bicep. So we're gonna do it with a bit lighter weight. Okay, and instead of trying to get 15 reps, a predetermined rep range, I want you to get to the point where you can fail in 10 reps, or 5 reps, or as quickly as you possibly can. So if you reframe that in your mind about how you're going to execute it, the reps are going to look very different. Are you going to lift as much weight? Probably not. Are you going to get as many reps? Probably not. Which means the workout's probably going to be much quicker. You're not going to lift as much, but it's going to be a blow to a lot of people's ego, and a lot of people can't fathom that. And we don't concern ourselves with weight the weight is simply nothing more than a number on the side of the dumbbell, which has very little merit, very little value, and it tells us very little about what's going on at the joint itself. So you can see the difference in how he's executing these reps. He's really focusing on isolating the joint, which is the elbow. He's taking the joint through the full excursion, going to full extension and going to full flexion, right? So you can't flex and extend, you can't flex a muscle, you can only contract a muscle, but we're thinking about the joint. He's flexing and extending it. He's shortening that muscle as much as he possibly can. I think that he can get a little bit more at the top. Okay, exactly. Take it all the way. Take it all the way. What he's also not doing, he's not delaying, so he's not resting at the bottom. There's no delay in between. There's also no point in this rep range where he's spending any more time than any other position or point. So whether it's at the top, the bottom, or the middle, he's spending the same amount of time, consistent throughout all ranges. Continue. Okay, now I want you to do this next rep as if this is your last rep. Okay, as if it's your last rep. Put everything into it, put everything into it, full intention, put everything into it, good. This is where mind-muscle connection matters. At the very end, it's the icing on the cake. It's not the most important thing. But when you're already doing everything right, then we can prioritize mind-muscle connection. Good. Now what I want you to do with a weight that's almost double, I want you to lift the 35s. And I want you to make it look easy. So he's pretty close to failure, I can see that. He's not there yet, but he's pretty close.
Make it easy.
Make it easy. I mean, he's doing these easier than he was using 20 pounds. Right, and just as you're fatiguing, just try to swing it, make it easy. Put little emphasis on the bicep. There we go. That's what most people's bicep curls look like. You know, there's some sort of poor version of a elbow flexor, you know, but they're using so many different muscles to achieve that outcome. Good, relax. And so this happens when you are so fixated and focused on external performance. External performance is how high you can jump, it's how fast you can run, it's how well you can kick a ball, score the ball, shoot the puck, all these sorts of things. We don't care about any of that. We don't even care what it looks like externally, as long as we are isolating the joint at the deepest level, at the most and all the muscles at the most proximal point. We don't need muscles so far away from that joint working if the goal of this exercise is to fatigue the bicep. And that's how you create subsequent growth in all your muscles, by really isolating the tissue that you want to work. And the easiest way to isolate muscle is through inhibition. If you can completely inhibit everything else from doing work, so if I can inhibit all the other muscles in his body and completely isolate, well then that's how I'm going to get the most out of my workout.